All right, guys. Well, I think we're good to get this party started here. So yeah, without further ado, thanks for joining and welcome to another exciting edition of the Growth Clinic. So for those of you that may not have joined before, this is a community event we host every week, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We invite our friends, our colleagues, our partners to join. And what we do each week is we feature an expert from our team to share insights and answer your questions about the latest and greatest digital marketing topics to help you grow and succeed in your business or marketing career. And if you enjoy this session, please share it. We encourage you to invite your friends, colleagues, whoever you think might benefit. They can sign up via the registration link you'll find in the calendar event. And if you have any questions about any of the tools or resources we cover today, as always, we're here to help. Feel free to follow up with me or anyone on our team, and we're here to be of support to you guys. So I'm Jared Flegel. I'm Director of Marketing at Web Mechanics. I'm our fearless leader, Chris Mechanic, who usually joins us, is out this week. He may join, but he is out on the road in an undisclosed location. So I'm very excited for what he's doing. We have a very special guest with us here, who I will introduce very briefly. Because today we are talking about conversion rate optimization. So we're all doing things to get more of the right folks to our site, drive more traffic, whether it be through SEO, paid, email, you name it. But this session is all about what are we doing to make sure we maximize the value of that traffic. So whether our goal is to increase leads or our goal is to get more sales, today we're going to talk about what we can do to improve our websites to get more of those folks flowing through and maximize the value of every person we're driving to the business. And we have just the right person to do that today on the call with us. He is our Director of Optimization at Web Mechanics. He is a seasoned veteran in digital marketing and particularly in conversion rate optimization. Adam Roth, welcome to the Growth Clinic.
That was very official. Thanks, Jared. So I'm the Director of Optimization here. I have experience in all channels of digital marketing. I started out actually as a machine learning developer. We get someone else.
Yeah, Leslie.
Excellent. Hi, Leslie. So I'm Adam Roth. Just quickly introducing myself, Director of Optimization. That's what I do. I optimize. There's really no magic to it. I'm going to go through the steps here. I'm going to try to be as direct as possible today and hopefully let you guys leave with something that's extremely helpful. My job is I like to think of myself as an LTV maximizer, not just a tester. Yep. My job is to take the tools that you've already built to sell your products and help your customers understand why they need the products. That's it.
Love it. Yeah, let's dive right in, Adam. I'm excited. So first off, so how would you define conversion rate optimization and why is it important to have in our digital marketing toolkit?
First thing, I would sometimes describe it as testing, and I think that's how most people would describe it. But conversion rate optimization, in my experience, is not primarily testing. CRO is just a way to make a company more money, and it's a way to have customers better understand what they're getting out of an interaction on your website. That can be helping them understand simply what nouns are. So when you say, I have this fantastic bundle, what does that mean? It can be helping a customer understand what will happen after contact. So on a demo form, are you going to call them? Are you going to email them? It's a way to increase the number of interactions on your website. That's conversion rate optimization. Typically on a website, there's a website which is static. It's a static interaction. You're not actively doing anything on your end. When a customer's ready to convert, that's when they're engaging your business to take an action beyond your static website. That's the conversion. We're converting potential energy into movement. So whether you need to ship a product, whether you need a sales member to reach out to them, or we need an automatic process to unlock a demo, we're trying to get to that step. Why does it belong in your digital marketing toolkit? That's the simplest question I think you could possibly ask me, because I believe, I don't need to know everybody's position at their company on this meeting, but it's your job to make your company more money. And that's what conversion rate optimization does. Functionally, at our business, it's a checks and balances system. We have a bunch of experts who individually do the best that they can do, but holistically, sometimes you need to take a step back and have someone who doesn't understand the nitty gritty take a look at your website. And that's what I tend to do. There are a lot, we'll go over some specifics. There's a lot of things that get missed out on in a holistic conversion process. You might have somebody looking at your ads. You might have somebody looking at your marketing. You might have somebody looking at your development. You have salespeople. There are stakeholders that tend to be in charge of individual aspects. CRO, I look at everything. And so that requires me to have a background and at least semi-understanding every platform. Also, understanding how to test in every platform. That sometimes also, conversely to acting as an expert, I sometimes have to turn my brain off as much as possible. I have to look at a website like I'm a user. And that's why a lot of times during my primary engagement, I tend to request that I have no idea what the product is.
Yeah.
Why does it belong in your toolkit? Because at the end of the day, you guys have the best products and your customers don't understand that yet. Everybody needs to make improvements to a page, and sometimes getting those improvements through, because there are so many stakeholders that have put so much energy into your websites and into your products, requires testing. The word testing is even though I don't always test, it's one of the most important words in my toolkit, because it can get things through stakeholders who have investment in choices that have already been made. And it gives us opportunity to look at other ways to sell our products. Everyone should be performing CRO, and basically my position comes down to the formality that you do it. If you can't get something past your boss, if you've hit a wall, if you need fresh ideas, or if the conventional changes through platform, through bidding strategies, through the normal pathways aren't working for you.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I guess zooming in, well, I guess where are we at today with CRO? So, obviously a lot's changed on the web in the last 5 to 10 years. Mobile, obviously responsive design, there are all sorts of new features and functionality to the web that didn't exist, 5, 10 years ago. So what are the biggest changes you've seen with regards to how CRO is executed? And what stayed the same? What are some of the undying principles that have just stuck over the years?
So 5 or 10 years ago, CRO was, when you type that into Google, you would get a bunch of guru articles. And that's changed significantly, because also in the last 5 or 10 years, we've seen people specializing in different aspects of digital marketing. So whereas CRO used to be looked at as change button color, and you'd have these wild articles showing a 900% increase in clicks, that's become adapted. There's a lot more scientific methodology to it. A lot of these things have been proven out to work or not. I've also noticed that because I'm in a specific CRO role, I am another person who is specialized in an aspect of digital marketing. I find more and more, I have a whole bunch of things that have worked in the past. And it's great to test those across websites. It's great to have these methodologies that I can rely on. I'm finding more and more that as my understanding of the industry evolves, different strategies work for different folks. Just because your competition did one thing, or because Neil Patel says one thing, doesn't mean it's going to work. Over the last several years, I've also seen an evolution in the tools that we use. So before, where we would just use maybe analytics, there's a bunch of heat maps. Conveniently, most of our clients already have analytics, already have heat maps on their website, have already tried several versions of a landing page, or tried moving things around. It does seem topically obvious to most people that there's something they can do on their web page that will make a difference in conversions. And I think that comes with seeing the data for bounce rate or with GA4 with engagement rate. You understand there's this high number of people leaving. And so I get this a lot. If we could just increase that by 5%, we can do a lot. So with tracking comes a lot different methodology. There's been a lot larger emphasis on CRO. Not only am there's always been a market for people who think that way. And generally those have been termed marketers. I've seen, as far as the industry has gone, there are a lot more tools. There are a lot more jobs very specific to CRO. And the reason for that is it works.
Love it. Yeah, that's huge. I'm curious. So let's dive into, because the folks on this call all come from different backgrounds, right? Some are B2B companies, some are working at business to consumer companies, B2Cs, some are working at e-commerce companies. So take us through, like, what are some of the nuances to consider when it comes to approaching CRO based on your industry or segment?
Oh yeah, great question. So there's a couple things that I look at here. Are we diving in like B2B, B2C funnels, things like that? Okay. So when we're looking at the categories of the websites that I typically deal with, typically you either have a contact form in some way. So you need to give an estimate on something. You need a salesman to walk through a product, or your e-commerce. And in that sense, you have a buy button. The purchase goes through. Typically, what I see is the first touch in these instances are different, right? If you have an e-commerce or you have multiple products, the first touch makes a difference. Your marketing is generally broader. So we sell products in this industry, machining, for example. So the CRO that I would focus on would be educating the consumer on the product page itself. Is it very obvious what you're selling? That's how it might change B2B or B2C. Your marketing always includes the entire funnel, and you need to make sure that the alignment is there. For e-commerce, you tend to focus on branding or categorical products in the top of funnel marketing. Do we have someone else join? Oh, here we go.
This guy, Chris Meck. Who's this guy?
Hey, Chris, you're muted if you're trying to speak.
Sorry to derail. I did not mean to speak. I just wanted to join and see what was going on at the growth clinic this week. I know it's some fire coming out.
Oh yeah, thank you for joining.
It's all here.
Adam, so you were talking about
Oh, we got 10 people. Nice.
sort of the nuances between e-commerce and
Right.
Sort of your classic lead gen style, right?
Right.
Yep.
So for e-commerce, typically you want to get out of the user's way. You want to educate them on a product and give them a buy button. Period. Matter of fact, the less they feel like they'll be contacted afterwards, the better, likely. I see this working very typically in e-commerce. You want to make sure that the cart and the checkout is extremely simple. The closer you see Amazon's one click to purchase, the closer to that you can get, as a rule of thumb, the better off you are. It's actually quite the opposite that I see in lead gen. You need your funnel and as close to the contact button as possible to explain the user experience afterwards. Whereas in e-commerce, they're expecting a product to be shipped, and the packaging will explain the explanation of the product, or contains the explanation of the product. Lead gen, you need the packaging to be by the contact button. So a very explicit example for that would be if you have a contact form that has many fields, we find constantly in CRO, hey, reduce the number of fields. that's a very simplistic look at CRO. I find that users don't really care how many fields you have. They care if they understand why they're filling out each field. So you can ask for phone number, and you can ask for their first and last and middle initial and their social security number and their mother's maiden name, but they need to understand why they're filling each of those out. I've actually seen.
Sorry, Adam, sorry to interrupt you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So real quick, so it looks like we've got 9 people here total. So there's 3 of us and 6 others. Quick poll: who's lead gen? Who's ecom? Like, so lead gen would be like you want somebody to fill out a contact form so your salesperson can respond. Ecom is the transaction right there. Do we have any ecoms in the building? I think it's mostly lead gen.
We do have a chat.
Lead
Oh,
gen.
lead gen, lead gen, lead gen, lead gen. Well, that helps.
Yeah, I mean, but the theory still applies though, because
100%.
so the common knowledge is, hey, fewer form fields are better, but that's not always the case. Like, we had a kitchen remodeling company before. Long time ago, we worked with the kitchen remodeling company, and they were like a high-end kitchen remodeling company. So we were like, cool, squeeze page, like landing page, like first name, email, like minimize the form fields, and it was doing okay. But then at some point, I think the client actually themselves designed some process. Like they told us about their kitchen design process, and we were like, that's awesome. Let's make a form with like 900 fields. It wasn't actually 900, but it was a long form. It was a multi-part form in gravity forms. And we kind of just did it all, not for fun, but I mean, we did it like not really with very high expectations, but it dramatically exceeded our expectations in terms of quality. Like, there wasn't that many submissions, but there was people that would sit there and write paragraphs, you know, about their kitchen, and they converted to deals at a much higher rate, like 70% almost, compared to like 5. So I love profiling on the thank you page. I love like grabbing a quick snippet of email address or something and then profiling deeper on a thank you page in lead gen, or on a pre-form, like a jump page, like what the jump page. So you can basically take a screen and put it in front of your landing page or on the back of your landing page, asking just 1 or 2 simple questions in lead gen. And it's technically a form with a field, but you can style it so that it's a clickable button. See what I mean?
So I've tested something similar before, where we actually we reduced the form fields. This was lead gen as well. We reduced the form fields down to a couple, and then included education after the submission. So like the thank you page included product guides that you could download to educate the customer. We saw that it increased the quality of the conversations they had with sales afterwards.
And you guys, I don't know if this came through earlier, and I apologize that I was late today, but Adam Roth here is just like an absolute savage. I've been trying to recruit him for literally years, and he's not just a CRO. He knows SEO. He's just like a really good growth hacker. Who's all on the call? We've talked to him. Like, we've been talking for a couple minutes. I'm interested to hear, you guys following? Are you still there? How many people we got? Still got 9. That's good.
Yeah, we got a group. Chris, I was going to follow up on your point that sometimes adding steps can actually improve the conversion rate. Remember, we had that one client they were a B2B SaaS company, and they were doing mergers and acquisitions. So they had acquired a product, but we did some polling on the site. So we used, I think we might've used Hotjar or something like that. And we learned that the users were confused when they got to the demo page, because it was saying like, sign up for a demo. I was like, okay, well, yes, but you have these 3 products, like which one should I be signing up for? So what we did was we created a product quiz. We basically, instead of just directing the user to a form, we asked them a series of questions to basically ask, what industry are you in? How big is your organization? Yeah. What problems do you have? And what we found was, not only did we did we increase the quality of the demos that were coming through, but the conversion rate increased because people were like, okay, wow. At the end of that process, we had some logic on the back end of that form, and it would say, okay, based on what you've told us, this is the demo you need to get. So it's either this product, or both products combined, right? And it just
that's
killed
what
it.
we call those wizards or quiz funnels. Basically a quiz funnel, like mimic a shopping experience. Think about a retail experience where you walk into a store. A good retail experience is a rep comes up and it's like, hey, what are you doing? What are you here for? What can I help you with? Like what? And they start broad and they narrow your selections down. So, and a lot of good e-coms do that too. But if we can take that methodology and apply it to lead gen, it can be super profitable.
100%.
And that's even if AI didn't exist. But AI exists and signals exist, and we can fire like, hey, are you 10 employees or 1,000 employees? We can fire that 1,000 employee signal selectively to the algorithms to train. And that's really where the power, I think that's really where the power and the leverage is in marketing today, is in that algorithm training.
Yeah, I've seen several instances where adding steps has increased the number of contacts. And I can categorize those pretty good. The users, if you serve a large client base, if you serve a large variety of a client base, and Chris just got in on one of those. If you serve, say, large enterprise customers and you serve small businesses, I've seen very specific tests that have pop-up modals. The only difference in the user experience, since both buttons send the user to the same demo page. One says I have more than 500 employees. One says I have less than 500 employees, and that increased conversion rates by 14%. Same product, exact same demo page. The user just felt like they knew they had a product that fit their company. And I've seen this happen several times.
I think Adam, you probably know about this already, but like one of our large clients basically had they're in the lead gen space, had a pretty nicely converting landing page, like converted well, but the quality wasn't exactly what they wanted. So we added a jump page, which looks and feels just like their landing page, but asks just like 1 or 2 questions. They're in financial services. So they want to know, like, what's your loan amount or what's your credit score, So we were just like, hey, what's your credit score? Good, bad, or ugly, And we take that signal and we only fire the pixel in platform if it's, the right selection. And so, and almost all the metrics that the client actually cares about look much better. Like lead quality rate went from 3% to 9%. They spend $500,000 a month on Facebook, so they get a lot of leads. Yep. And that's another thing with lead gen, is that if you're enterprise, especially and you're low traffic, you don't have enough volume to really test like that thoughtfully. So you shouldn't spend that much time like putting a complex test together necessarily. You should like test one big thing that's either going to work really well or bomb really badly.
Yep. That works
real
100%
quick
of the
poll
time.
Of the audience, like who's in a low traffic environment versus high traffic environment? You could just drop a chat. Like, are we talking low? Because there's low traffic strategies. Like for low traffic strategies, I like to test site wide. Like I'll test the site wide. Or I'll test the homepage for bounce rate.
Yeah, and Chris, maybe we could define that as like if you have more than 10,000 visits a month or under 10,000 a month. Because if you're under 10,000, it's going to take longer to test. But if you're over 10,000, then that's where the rate tends to increase.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
High traffic, low traffic. High traffic, low traffic. Okay, got a mix. It's good.
So for the higher traffics, how high are we talking? Are we talking 100? Are we talking 1 million a month? Like how many page views, or not page views, like how many visitors do you get monthly roughly? Is it 80,000? Is it 1 million? Because the techniques are different at the different levels. Like one could support multivariate testing, for instance.
Yep.
And another would be a big waste of time.
Yeah, why don't we start
real quick with lower traffic strategies, or higher traffic strategies, I always like to go close to the money. Oh, I saw a chat come through. I didn't read it though.
Yep, Steven said over 500K, roughly.
Yeah. So high traffic or low traffic, it always makes sense to go right to the money, which means the point of transaction, the zero moment of truth. You know, like that moment where if you could just get, instead of 5 people to, or 5% to fill out this form, you can get 7% and it would make a dramatic impact on your business. I would start there every time, pretty much. But then there's also something to be said in low traffic environments and starting from the very highest traffic points. Like in a low traffic environment, I like to test site-wide elements like hello bars, site-wide pop-ups, you know, the homepage, the nav, things that almost every visitor would see.
Yeah. And I think you can always, regardless of traffic, you can always look at where your largest drop-off is, then go back to the entirety of the funnel. One of the most recent tests that I did on a higher traffic site, I did exactly what Chris was mentioning. I started at checkout, actually. I started at checkout and very simply included extra payment options. It's a very easy test.
Extra payment options, yep, that is easy. Jarrett, remember the story about the demo request page, which I think was a breakthrough? Like, in anybody looking, remember we did the options of how you wanted to receive the demo?
Yeah.
So
this was a SaaS client in the legal and accounting space, and they had your typical landing page with a requested demo form. But we did some polling and we realized that not everyone was ready to like talk to a salesperson, because that's the expectation. If I fill out this form, I'm probably going to get hounded to get on a demo, and then some SDR is going to waste my time, et cetera, et cetera. So what we did was we added one option to their form, and that option was video demo. So instead of sitting on a call with the salesperson, waiting for them to call, scheduling, they get instant access to a demo online that they can watch. And conversion rates skyrocketed, because if I want a demo, I want a demo. I want to see the tool, right? Maybe I want to talk to a salesperson. Maybe I'm at that stage, but most likely, if I'm most people, I just want to see it, right? So by creating that option, we added a ton more pipeline, because now all these people who weren't originally on the sales team's radar now are, and they've experienced the product, right? So at that point, they can start selling to those people, whereas previously they just weren't getting those conversions.
Yeah. I gave a similar.
I think it was to the tune of 200 or 300%. It was over 100% in terms of the increase of the rate that people that visited that page filled out that form, because it offered an option that was other than being hounded by a salesperson.
Yep.
Buyers are smart these days. They know when they fill out your form, they're going to get hounded. Some places you fill out a form and you get hounded by multiple different vendors, so buyers are a little bit scarred. So if you're a bit empathetic in that experience, and I know, I'm sorry, I know my audio is really bad. But if you take a little bit of empathy toward that experience and you deliver the information that they want in a way that's non-salesy, what'll happen is the number of submissions will go up dramatically. If you have any appending tools, any like data enrichment products, like you can learn a lot about those visitors. You won't necessarily get as many demos, but you will get some people that call you and they're ready to buy. So overall, like you can expect submissions to dramatically increase like 2 to 3x, and the actual close one deals I think increased by like 25 or 30%.
Yeah, I had a client recently, highly pressured for more conversions quickly. And I just happened to ask, you have your phone number on the contact page. Do you have a sales team ready to take calls? The answer was yes, but the calls we get are low quality. So what I did is I had them move the phone number to the product page. So it was the request form, fill it out, or call us. And it turned out that the calls that they got through the product page were high quality calls, converting converting much quicker than their forms. Sometimes they weren't getting people contacting them back on their forms. And now they're suspecting that their call center is outperforming the form fills.
Well, Adam, this goes into, so Adam, his technical title is head of CRO. So he's in charge of conversion, but he's actually like a multi-talented unicorn. But you know how we're talking about how conversion rate intersects with RDO, or revenue driven optimization, like algorithm training. So unless you have Invoca or call tracking metrics or some kind of call tracking platform where you can fire that signal selectively, you as a CRO wouldn't actually have that real time down funnel insight into like, are those calls working or not? So you as a CRO, if the tech stack's not right, even with the best experiments ever, you could be like, oh, we doubled or tripled calls. But then the client would say, oh, those calls were shit, right? Like those calls were low quality. But if you have Invoca, or if you can fire that conversion like only on calls that are first time callers over 5 minutes in length, for instance, right? Then now you can start, now you as the CRO, the conversion rate optimization lead, can get that in real time. So you don't have to wait for the clients to tell you whether the calls are shit or not, you know? And that happens sometimes, especially in like bigger companies and higher traffic environments. Like nobody's reading the chat transcripts or listening to the calls manually, you know? Like you need some kind of signaling platform.
100%.
Does anybody here on the call fire conversion selectively? Like, does anybody in platform fire conversions, like a call conversion would only be 5 minutes in length, first time caller? I think that's kind of advanced. I don't think most people are probably doing that yet, but everybody should, because there's, you know, when somebody visits your site, they're throwing off signals the whole time of how high quality they are, you know? And so if we take that, we can, or if we can get that in real time, it's a massive advantage, both for CRO, but then also for your media buying.
In looking at quality of, specifically you're referring to some type of secondary measurement for quality of calls or quality of contacts that we can then look back at the ads we're bidding on and see where the quality calls or the quality contacts came from.
Yeah, and so you could use first party data, like web engagement data that you're collecting on your own website for that, and everybody has that. And in advanced situations, you could use third party data. You could use Clearbit, for instance, if you're B2B and you like people with over 1,000 employees, you know, you can fire that signal on that signal from Clearbit. So there's, you know, the basic level 1 implementation is use your first party data to do that. The level 2 implementation would be, hey, as long as cookies do still exist, you know, we still do have the benefit of third party data, at least for another year. You know, what third party data signals can we bring? So we had a different client in the financial service space that we'd run a soft credit pull. So in order to run a soft credit pull, you don't need social, I don't think. I think it's just address and date of birth, and you can run a soft credit pull. So imagine if you're a financial service client who, you know, needs a certain credit score, you can run that on the front end of your website and in real time supply that information to your Adam Roth, who's in charge of, you know, tweaking the landing page to perfection, and also to the media buying team to have a real-time data stream of like, this campaign produced high quality. Because if you're in platform, you're looking at all your campaigns, and you see cost per impression, cost per click, cost per lead, and that's usually where it stops. But like if you just, even if AI didn't exist, if you simply add one more column that's like cost per hyper well qualified lead, and you're just manually buying the media, then like you're gonna win if you know your down funnel metrics and you have that data stream in real time. Not even because we're better media buyers, just because we have better data.
So for those of you who are unaware, Clearbit is what Chris referred to as a third-party data source. It will take information that your browser knows about the visitor and then match it with other known data that it's acquired from many other data sources. And then you can use that data in your marketing. So a great example that I've seen work in the CRO space is if you know that pop-ups are working well. If pop-ups are working well and you feel like you could leverage it, you can use Clearbit to say, hey, this person who's visiting, their name's Jim. They work at X company. You can even use it to pull in that company's logo and say, sometimes you'll land on a website and it'll say Adam Roth at Web Mechanics, are you using this product correctly? And it's a great way for your pop-ups to get attention. There are many other ways to use that, but specifically I've seen that work in CRO.
Yeah, and I've never seen a scenario where a good, thoughtful pop-up like didn't move the needle. I know pop-up is like almost a bad word. We want to call it modals and type forms and anything other than pop-up because it feels like I'm using a curse word when I say it, because everybody hates them. And some people have pop-up blockers, but the fact remains, a pop-up is an element, especially in a low traffic environment, that you can spin up fairly quickly, opt-in monster, whatever you want. If you put some thought into it, it can get a high engagement rate, and everybody on the site will see it, or you can determine the triggering rules. So like say you have 10,000 visits a month, your homepage might get 5,000 visits a month and all the other pages get something else. But you can immediately spin up some piece of creative or collateral that everybody sees. So it's a wonderful testing ground especially in low traffic environments, but even in higher traffic environments, you can have really thoughtful pop-ups. Same with Drift. Does anybody use Drift or like any of these chatbots? Like Drift and these different chatbots, they're powerful, powerful tools. You can have different little sequences or playbooks, they call them, that run on different pages or different sections of the site. You can integrate with your other things and actually have people like schedule meetings right there via the Drift bot. Like I'm in Dallas right now, visiting a large client, and they, like most clients, like want more and more leads, like faster and faster, right? And so they challenged us with, hey, come up with some things we can do in the short term. And the first thing I'm looking at is site-wide elements, the Drift bot, the pop-ups, the nav, because even though they are a very high traffic site, but still, those are the types of things that they just get so much volume. You can test with a high velocity, and you can test a lot of different things quickly.
A really easy way to use the existing elements on your site and get into testing so you can optimize those conversions is look in platform. So Chris mentioned Drift. We also mentioned pop-up tools. Any good chat tool, any good pop-up tool has a built-in testing functionality. I've seen with Drift, you can test how you can test scroll depth. When should the pop-up for the chat expand? You can test what pages it expands on. In pop-ups, you can use any pop-up tool. Opt-in Monster, for example, has an A/B testing section. You can test how your product should be marketed on your pages. What phrasing works best for those customers? Should it be on exit intent or should it just pop up in their face? That way you're not wasting company dollars.
Let me provide a very quick example of Drift. So Drift is just like a little chat. It comes in the the lower left of your screen. It's like bloop. But one of the things it has is, have you been here before? So you can do first-time visitors see this, returning visitors see that. So this client has your typical returning visitor message, which is very short. It's like, welcome back, like this emoji. Like, what can we help you with, right? So, and that does whatever it does. I don't know exactly how it converts or how it pulls, but think about that versus psst, 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 and then a down pointing emoji. I see you're back. This must be getting serious. What are you trying to do? Because this client's message doesn't have a colon or a ... meaning like the user doesn't know that if they click that there's something else, because it doesn't pose like that. So it's like, what can we help you with? But like, which of these are you trying to do? So it's like, psst, emoji pointing down. Looks like this is getting serious. You know, it's like a joke. Like, hey, it looks like you're actually shopping. Like, looks like this might be happening. And then, where are you? You know, what do you want to do? And so it implies from that first screen that there's like, if you click on this, there's options of things that you can do, you know? So if you use Drift in that way, just for returning visitors, and you could do this, you don't need Drift to do that. I mean, you could do it yourself if you want. It wouldn't be that much to build, depending on what your analytics is. But that single message that they see, that 100 or 200 characters, like, makes all the difference.
Huge. It can make market differences. One phrase on your website can make market differences in your.
Yeah, that brings up a question of like, how do you prioritize? Like, there's a lot of different stuff you could do on the website. You know, obviously we want to go as close to the money as possible, but you know, what's a shorthand kind of framework we can use to think about like, what do we test first and then second and third?
Yeah, Chris got into this a little bit and I've spoken about it, but let's be really direct so you guys have something to leave with. I almost exclusively always start with what the client thinks is broken, but that's not necessarily the right way. I quite often play psychologist, right? Because if you've been looking at a website, you have emotional investment in the changes. So the first thing I do is I listen to the client, but the areas that, what I will is I'll give you a list of priorities where I think I've found the most changes in revenue. Start with where you're getting your traffic. I don't care if it's the homepage. I don't care if it's a blog post that's about Pokemon. Those are users that are on your site and you have the right to advertise to them. You have the right to get in their face. So I've actually found in most cases, pages that haven't been emphasized are the easiest to glean customers from, where you otherwise wouldn't expect to have customers. Look for areas of white space on those pages and look for areas that you can inject your marketing. I don't care how relevant or not. That's number one. The second place that I would traffic, or that I would look at, are converting parts of the website. So GA4, Google Analytics 4, has a great way where you can start with the conversion form and see where users are coming from. I call these converting pathways. Look at your most converting pathways and then compare that to what you thought your most converting pathways were. So typically you would think homepage, product page, demo funnel for lead gen. Are users coming through a different way? Are they landing on a certain blog post? Are they landing on an industry page specifically? And how can you optimize those other industry pages? That's the second place I would look at. The next thing I would do is I would look at your competition. What do your competitors' funnels look like and why? And I mean from ad the whole way to the form. What are they at? What are the phrases they're using in their advertising? How does that coincide with the phrases they're using on their product pages? And then how are they collecting information and how are they contacting their customers? What I don't mean by that is you need to copy your competition. You don't. A lot of times your competition will be wrong. And I've seen this quite often, especially if you're a smaller company competing against huge brands. Your leveraging point might be different than their leverage points. You might need to educate the customer more. Where can we do that? The last is I would sit down next to somebody who's never seen your product. In a lot of cases, this is somebody's significant other. You can have your children do it. Let them go through your website and explain what the product is to you live. I can't tell you, it's really incredible the number of times where I see people who are uneducated on a product go through a website the first time and explain that product so incorrectly. And you have to realize you have hundreds of people doing this a day who want to buy a product. They arrive at your site and then can't figure out if it's exactly what they wanted. explaining your product in layman's terms is very important for conversions. I could continue to go on. Of course, this is my full-time job, so I could go on forever, but I'll stop there.
Yeah, that's great, Adam.
Well, one quick point. So we had a client in the alternative medicine space, and they were, you know, they did acupuncture and physical therapy and things like that. And my wife is a physical therapist, and I had her go through this client's funnel, and she immediately was like, where are the doctors? Everybody wants to know who their doctor is going to be. Like, where are the doctors pages? And we were like, oh my goodness, like this is a squeeze funnel. Like, I don't know where the doctors are. We didn't. But then and then when you went to look at the doctors, it was like these rinky-dink pages that were like unimpressive. Though the doctors themselves were impressive. Like, not a lot of thought had been put into those pages. But an informed buyer, you know, so like, yeah, you may have your significant other look at it, but if you can get somebody that's a little bit more toward the informed side to look at it, in this case, it was my significant other because she was a doctor herself. It can be super high impact, like even without any fancy tools or tech. Like, you just get somebody that's in market for that product to look at the funnel. If you can finagle that. The other thing I wanted to say, Jared, was the stack rank. So I agree with everything that Adam said.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
but it still leaves you with a bunch of ideas.
exactly.
Can you search and drive for the Washington Post example stack rank and just show it real quick? And we can share it with the group here.
Yeah, I can pull it up. Yep.
Adam, I'm sure you use like a very similar testing matrix, but it's basically like a document where you note all of your various hypotheses. Hey, hypothesis 1, you know, people want to see the doctors. Okay, do we have any evidence that this is the case? Yes or no? Hypothesis 2, but it's just like a, you know, like a thought experiment. It's kind of a thought experiment, but kind of also like a working document that you can use to prioritize. And we generally prioritize it by how hard is this? Well, no, first we're like, how confident are we? Like, is it actually the doctor's page, or is that just Chris's significant other that thinks that? Like, do we have any other evidence that people want to actually know who the doctors are? That's your confidence score. The other score is difficulty. How hard is this? How much work does it take in terms of thought, strategy, creative, content, dev, you know, resources? Like, what does it take to actually test this? Like, what is the difficulty? And you can have one or more metrics for that. And then you want to have at least one for impact. So if we're right, and if we put this effort in, then what might we expect in terms of the impact, not on this landing page, but on the business? You know, like you might have 100 landing pages. And so we could do a really, really great job on landing page number 97, impact the business. So the impact score needs to look more broadly at the company goals and say, hey, how is this a game changer? That's a 10. Is it not a game changer? No chance Lance is a game changer. It's a 2 or a 3, you know?
Yep.
We're almost out of time.
Yeah. I guess
want to hear from the audience more in general, because I don't know if like people are really feeling it or if they're like not. We only have 6 minutes left. But Jared, if you could pull up a stack rank doc, like an example that we'll share, and let's use this last 5 minutes to talk to the audience. Like, was this useful for you? Do you have questions? Are there follow-up topics that we should drill into?
I'm curious if it would have been helpful to go through a website live and critique as well.
Yeah, if anybody wants like a live critique from Adam on their funnel, we can totally do that. Or I'll do it if you want.
You guys want to take a minute to go through a website and just go through some high-level stuff?
Say that again?
Do you want to take a minute to go through some high-level stuff on a website just really quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
100%. Someone want to give me a URL?
You guys can take a look at your own site, web mechanics. Tell me what you're doing right, what you could expand upon.
Well, that's probably not the best example. I would almost rather you look at any of our clients.
And the old
So,
cobbler's kids
I mean,
analogy.
I've looked at this in depth and I could critique the heck out of it, but Adam, you take. Well, who is this talking, by the way? And why are you asking about our site? Why don't we look at your site?
Sure, have at it. Hozio.com. HOZIO.com.
HOZIO.com. But no, man, I think there's a lot of stuff wrong with our own website.
And there's plenty of stuff wrong with ours right now. We're in the middle of doing a rebuild currently.
You want me to freestyle on this one, guys?
Yeah, let's freestyle.
Cool. There's a couple things that I like here initially. Now the video, I want to be careful because this did affect the load time, and load times affect your SEO. And the more traffic, the more conversions, right? I think it's good. It does look like it's compressed. Compression can also cause a UX issue. So I would be careful with that. Right off the bat, I love the awards. The awards seem to do good, seem to do very good across the board. I really like that. I want to see here in text, in static text, as your awards, or with your awards, exactly what you offer on your homepage, on land, in the viewport. What is it? So I see free site analysis. Do you build websites? Is what you do analyze websites? And what do I get out of the analysis? If you could describe that in a sentence, that'd be awesome. It's especially important on your homepage because users who land anywhere and don't know what your product is expect to be able to go to your homepage and figure it out within the first couple scrolls. Can you scroll down here, Jarrett? Is it you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, we see a little bit of lag on the scroll, and I think Jarrett's computer is pretty quick. I'd also like to see the background of your header in full color so that it doesn't, when a user wants to navigate, they're not confused with the background. So the first thing we see is, of course, I like this. This is what you do here. Great, excellent. I want to make sure that your website loads fast. And if you're going to tout that, I would definitely make sure that if you're going to tout that you design fast websites, I would actually remove that video so that the website we see does load faster. This is cool. I do like that we can scroll through the different websites that you've developed in the past, and you can see more. It also shows what you've done. I'd like to maybe see one small explanation, and also don't be afraid to market yourself. We can see this with on other websites too. This of course is lead gen. Don't be afraid to, I would put one bullet point, what sets you apart from other people. This will be important for any product, not just website design, but what did your website get the user? Because right now you're not marketing at much of a difference. We offer websites just like everyone else. I'd like to say this website got our users X, Y, or Z. I like that you put your team on here. That's really great. And then here we see a little bit too much text. Do you have heat maps?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Anything you notice from heat maps?
That'd probably be a question for me. We actually haven't really been focusing on the site so much. We have 3 or 4 landing pages from ads and Facebook. Those are pretty much the pages we're focusing our CRO efforts on.
Yeah.
So that may have been a better example.
Yeah, what I would do too is go in your analytics and take a look at where users are going after those landing pages. I would expect that you'll be able to find any information that would help optimize your conversions by the pathways that users take when they leave those landing pages. If you give them the option to go to other places on your website. Chris had a great point before. I've seen in many industries, people are interested in the team, for example. it may or may not be for your industry. Of course, I have a little bit of insight on your industry, but you can glean a lot of, you can glean a lot of information from user pathways beyond where you expect them to go. I would take a look at that too. What is the widget on the right here? You see that red arrow?
Red arrow.
Am I just seeing that?
Zoom. I think that's a Zoom info plugin.
Oh, that's me.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's my plugin.
Yeah, interesting. And can you go to the contact page? That'd be the next thing I'd be curious about. So, and again, you guys can see I focused on the home page. I don't have his analytics up. The next thing I would go to is the contact page. The horrible things that I look for on a contact page are getting in the user's way. It's probably the biggest mistake I see when in conversions. A user has clicked contact us because they want to contact you. So you have to align your ideas and theirs. You want them to contact you for a purchase. And so I would focus on that. I would maybe even, in this case, I would give them another option, a drop down for which of your services they're interested in. And I would also put a custom phrasing at the top. Can you just go to what? So it says, looking for digital marketing or advertising help, fill out the form and start a new adventure. I do like the sound of that. I would give them a drop down for the product itself. That'll make a user feel like that you definitely offer what they have just one last time, or what they're needing for one last time.
Yep.
Well, guys, I really enjoyed this. We are at time. I do have to jump here. But join us again next week, please, and thank you. And we've enjoyed this here today. If anybody wants a quick teardown of their landing page or funnel, we'd be happy to provide it. Adam and myself can do it. Kyle, thank you as well. We should partner. Seems like we're in the same space. But yeah, and we'll see you next week.